If you think about it carefully, it is possible to rotate more than 360 degrees, as well as less than 360 degrees, or even less than 0 degrees. So, the idea is that in a unit circle, we know that 0 degrees is right here, positive x-axis, and we know that counterclockwise is positive. Some cardinal numbers that we're going to need to remember, right? And as you get going with this, you're going to know the 30, 45, 60, 120, 135, 150, and then 210, 225, 240, 300, 315, and 330, all from the unit circle. However, it turns out that you can have angles that are not any of these, but are. Meaning, what if you did a rotation of 720 degrees? So if you are presented with an angle that is more than 360, it means you've gone around more than once. Now, if you were to subtract 360 from that, you'd get 360, which means that 720 is going around once and then going around another time. So 720 is the same as 360, which is the same as 0. So simply put, if you've got an angle that is more than 360, right? So if the angle is more than 360, you can subtract 360 until it's between 0 and 360. So, another for instance. What if you had an angle that was equal to, I don't know, how about 850 degrees? Well, if you take 850 degrees and you subtract 360 once, right, you get 490, which doesn't help. So what do? You subtract 360 again, okay? So you subtract 360 again, and you get 130. Is 130 between 0 and 360? Yes, that means that 850 degrees is the same as 130. So all you're really doing is trying to find an equivalent to put it on the unit circle, okay? Now, what if the angle were less than 0? So here's a question. If positive is counterclockwise, and we've already dealt with this, right? Remember, negative would be clockwise. That just means that we're going in the opposite direction. So that would mean that negative 135 degrees is a thing. How do you figure out where it falls on the unit circle? Well, you could count it out, right? Or you could add 360. And if you take negative 135 negative, and add 360, then you get 225 degrees, which means that if you go negative 135, it's the same as a positive 225 degrees, okay? So that means what? And let's give the quick summary here. If an angle is less than 0 degrees, add 360 until it is between 0 and 360 degrees. And that way you can find the equivalent, okay? So let's say we had an angle of negative 570 degrees. So what you do first is you add 360, and you get negative 210. Don't give up. Add another 360. The reason we're adding 360, I should probably mention, is because that's once around, okay? And that means that we're talking about not, so if I start here and I go 360, I'm still in the same place. So that's the notion between the adding or the subtracting 360. Probably should have mentioned that. So I add 360 again, and I get 150 degrees. This means that if I go negative 570, that's the same as going 150. So if I go 150 that way, it's the same as going negative 570. Now, that does mean I've gone around once, and I've gone around enough to get back to here, okay? So simply put, if you've got angles that are more than 360, subtract 360 until they're between 0 and 360. If they're less than 0, like negative, right, then you add 360 until everything works out. So that's how you deal with angles more than 360 or less than 0.